The high-profile Shawn Combmes sex trafficking trial took a dramatic turn in court as Cassie Ventura faced intense cross-examination, revealing steamy text messages and explosive details that could change everything. The courtroom was packed to the brim with 12 jurors, alternates, attorneys, reporters, and even sketch artists since cameras are banned in federal court. Diddy sat calmly at the defense table, dressed in his usual beige sweater and gray slacks, occasionally interacting with the crowd. Cassie Ventura appeared visibly pregnant, soft-spoken yet composed, bracing for her fourth day under oath. Courtroom atmosphere and key players. The courtroom was packed to the brim with 12 jurors, alternates, attorneys, reporters, and even sketch artists since cameras are banned in federal court. Diddy sat calmly at the defense table, dressed in his usual beige sweater and gray slacks, occasionally interacting with the crowd. Cassie Ventura appeared visibly pregnant, soft-spoken yet composed, bracing for her fourth day under oath. The atmosphere was tense, with every eye focused on the proceedings. Reporters were elbow to elbow, eagerly capturing every detail despite the lack of cameras. Sketch artists worked furiously to translate the intense courtroom drama into visuals. Diddy's mother, Shawn Combmes, was present, alongside his sons Christian and Quincy, adding a family dimension to the trial. Diddy, consistent in his calm demeanor, sometimes scribbled on orange post-it notes, passing them subtly to his legal team. At one moment, he even engaged with the reporters in the gallery, showcasing a surprisingly relaxed side amid the pressure. Cassie, on the other hand, appeared composed but visibly exhausted, managing the stress of back-to-back days on the stand, all while nearly 9 months pregnant. The contrast between the defense's relaxed front and Cassie's visible strain underscored the emotional weight of the trial. The lack of cameras meant tension was captured only in hushed voices, intense glances, and furrowed brows, but those in the room felt the gravity of each moment. This setting was more than a courtroom, it was a battleground where truths, lies, and secrets would clash under the watchful eyes of those sworn to decide the fate of everyone involved. Love and jealousy in early messages. The defense began by highlighting the early days of Cassie and Diddy's 11-year relationship, emphasizing letters filled with affection and care. Text messages showed phrases like, "I love you so much it consumes my life," revealing deep emotional ties. Cassie described taking care of Diddy, and referred to him as both larger than life and by his real name, Shawn, hinting at a private side unknown to the public, his friends, or even his family. This duality suggested a complex personal life. Cassie admitted to intense jealousy, which she managed to tolerate for over a decade because she believed he loved her. She pleaded in messages for attention, showing vulnerability, like when she complained about being rushed off the phone. But it wasn't just about love, the relationship had layers of tension and longing. Despite feelings of being left out during holidays spent with Diddy's ex and kids, Cassie stayed committed. This passionate mix set the stage for the complicated dynamics in their relationship, revealing both tenderness and underlying turmoil. These early messages gave a glimpse into a bond fueled by love and marked by jealousy, which would later be tested in the courtroom. The shocking steamy text messages. Cassie was made to read out loud a series of explicit text exchanges from 2009 to 2017. Painting a picture of a consistent, consensual sexual relationship involving freak-offs. These messages suggested mutual desire, but also opened questions about whether consent was always freely given or pressured. One message from 2013 read, "Cassie, wish we could have freaked off before you left." Another from March 2017 said, "Diddy, I can't wait to watch you. I want you to get real hot." Cassie responded, "Me, too. I just want it to be uncontrollable." And then there was a message the defense returned to repeatedly, "Cassie, I love our freak-offs. When we both want it." That last phrase, "when we both want it," became a cornerstone for the defense's argument that these encounters were consensual, planned affairs. However, Cassie clarified on the stand, "I would say that was just words at that point. They didn't mean what they used to." The text continued, showing an ongoing complicated dynamic. Diddy texted, "I miss you already." Cassie replied, "Me, too." Then he asked when she wanted to do a freak-off, and Cassie wrote back, "I'm always ready to do a freak-off." He told her to pick a date, and she suggested a weekend to recover for work, but added, "If a weekend doesn't work, I don't care." These exchanges reveal a complicated mixture of desire, negotiation, and perhaps pressure, leaving the jury to decide where consent ended and coercion might have begun. Freak-offs, role-playing, and consent questions. Texts revealed planning of so-called freak-offs involving other people, including an escort named Jules, and role-playing scenarios meant to rekindle their strained relationship. Diddy's lawyer used these to argue the relationship was consensual and negotiated. However, Cassie's hesitation and the defense's aggressive questioning created ambiguity around how freely these events were agreed upon. At one point, Diddy suggested calling Jules to join the freak-off, but Cassie did not reply immediately. When he pressed for an answer, she responded only with, "Love you, Pop." The defense implied this showed pressure, yet they pushed to argue otherwise. Role-playing discussions included characters like a pilot, a lawyer, and a professor, where both parties pretended not to know each other. Diddy even asked if Cassie was comfortable with the direction of the role-play, trying to frame it as consensual. Yet, Cassie's two-letter response, "okay," was lukewarm, adding to the unclear picture. These texts were meant to demonstrate mutual planning, but the underlying tension and delayed responses raised serious questions about true consent. The defense argued that Cassie could opt out of freak-offs if she wanted, emphasizing phrases like, "If you're not into that, NP, no problem." Still, the prosecution highlighted the power dynamics at play, suggesting that what may have started consensually could have evolved into coercion. This push and pull between willingness and fear defined much of their communication, making it difficult to discern fact from pressure. The jury was left to wrestle with whether these intimate interactions were freely chosen, or shaped by intimidation behind closed doors. Contradictions and staff awareness. Cassie contradicted herself on whether staffers knew about these encounters, despite earlier testimony describing hotel preparations and supplies. She initially testified that staffers were involved in those freak-offs, prepping hotel rooms, bringing oil, candles, lube, and condoms, and positioning these items throughout the rooms. However, during cross-examination, Cassie stated, "No one who worked for Shawn Combmes knew about the free-offs." This direct contradiction left the courtroom and prosecution visibly stunned, raising serious questions about Cassie's reliability and the pressure she may be under during testimony. The inconsistency is striking because it challenges the prosecution's narrative that these encounters were part of a larger, orchestrated scheme with active staff participation. The defense seized on this to suggest confusion or possibly intentional misdirection, aiming to undermine the trustworthiness of Cassie's accounts. This flip-flop creates a pivotal issue in the trial, as it could influence how jurors perceive the credibility of the witness and the coherence of the prosecution's case. Will the prosecution manage to clarify the conflicting statements under redirect examination? It's a critical moment to watch. Perhaps they'll convince the court that staffers were unaware of the explicit purpose behind the preparations and simply did their jobs, oblivious to the darker implications. Or maybe they'll attribute Cassie's conflicting statements to stress or memory lapses amid her complex emotional state. Either way, this contradiction lays bare the challenges prosecutors face in piecing together a consistent, believable storyline, especially when eyewitness testimony clashes with itself. The defense's spotlight on this issue could sway jurors who are already grappling with the sensitive and explicit nature of the case. This unresolved question about staff awareness now hangs heavily over the trial's next phase, leaving everyone wondering how this tangled web will ultimately unravel. Addiction and its impact on behavior. Cassie said both she and Diddy were heavily addicted to opiates. By the way, can I just stop here and say in any day news breaking that P. Diddy's addicted to opiates would be like a huge lead story. TMZ would have the front page, story. TMZ would have the front page, story. TMZ would have the front page, it would be all over the place. The New York Post, everybody, this is just like an aside in this trial. Yeah, she said it. They were both addicted to opiates. Withdrawal, she said, was really painful, super sick, and nauseous. She said they both had stomach issues from it. She testified that Diddy's drugs of choice, ecstasy and MDMA, but clarified that those were not her preferred drugs. And finally, when asked about how drugs influenced behavior, Cassie said this, "Drugs don't make you do anything from my perspective." That's powerful for the prosecution. Meaning, it wasn't me drugged doing these things. I was doing them because I was scared. Although, you could say for the defense, it wasn't me doing all these things, being drugged. I was doing them because I wanted to. Cuts both ways. In a June 2017 exchange, Diddy texted, "What's the road to peace?" Cassie suggested a role-playing scenario. Characters like, a pilot, a lawyer, a professor, people pretending not to know each other. She told the court that she got the idea from a friend as a way to rekindle the relationship, a path to peace. Apparently, the relationship by then was in a rough place. Diddy responded, same 55 page. "Let's get outfits. Maybe sex club with your wig." Cassie replied, "Okay." Here's where the defense zeroed in on one detail. The fact that Diddy actually asked Cassie if she was okay with the direction that the role-playing was heading. They're trying to frame this as evidence that their sex wasn't coerced. Their role-playing wasn't coerced. Like he was checking in on her and how she felt about it. But again, her answer, it wasn't yes, "I'm so into it. I can't wait." It was 2 letters. Okay. Okay. Cassie didn't respond right away either to Diddy's suggestion that they order some outfits for a role play, but Diddy, he went ahead and ordered the outfits anyway. And you could say that this backs up the prosecution, that it was always Diddy's way, no matter how you felt. Even if you were not into it, getting the outfits anyway, even if you didn't respond in time, I'm getting the outfits anyway. When asked about her memory, Cassie admitted there were fuzzy spots. And the defense followed up, and you were using a lot of drugs during this period. It seems as though Diddy's lawyers at this point are calling into question maybe how reliable Cassie actually is recalling all these details and all these facts. If she was so drugged out all the time, how good's your testimony? How good's your memory? And then they suggested that Diddy was in withdrawal that night in March of 2016 when the hotel hallway beating happened. They referenced messages where Diddy described feeling sick. Cassie said it was possible that he was sick because he was in withdrawal. Diddy's lawyer asked he was extremely dependent on his opiates, right? Cassie responded, for a time, and he was very upset if his opiates were taken away from him. Cassie replied, I guess so. The defense kept digging. Wasn't Cassie also using? Yes. Norco MDA ecstasy ketamine. So much so that in 2017 she lost her sense of taste and smell. Her arm went numb. That's when she says she finally looked for help. Diddy's lawyer asked, would you say Mr. Combs is an addict? Cassie replied, yes. What was he addicted to? A pause. And then Cassie said, success. That actually brought out laughter in the courtroom. Even Diddy's lawyer cracked a smile. Success. Cassie replied, yes, and at some point, opiates. Jealousy, affairs, and hidden truths. Cassie revealed feelings of exclusion from Diddy's personal life, including holidays spent with his ex, Kim Porter, and their 4 kids, not with Cassie herself, which she admitted was hurtful, and that she argued with Diddy about another woman named Gina, with whom he was also having some kind of relationship, leaving Cassie feeling like a side piece. She confessed that even after years and years of dating, she hadn't formed a relationship with Diddy's kids. The defense brought up rapper Kid Cudi, and Cassie admitted she began seeing Kid Cudi while she and Diddy were in a rough patch, but the defense characterized that relationship as an affair while she and Diddy were still very much involved. Cassie told the court she did have a burner phone specifically for communicating with Kid Cudi, and said it might have even been her idea to have that phone. This painted a picture of Cassie living in fear, constantly under Diddy's control, scared he might find out about her relationship with Kid Cudi. After all, Diddy spends holidays with Kim Porter and his kids, and has another side relationship with Gina. So there she was, hiding her relationship with Kid Cudi, using a burner phone because she was too afraid of what would happen if Diddy found out. The defense highlighted an incident where Diddy lunged at Cassie with a wine opener when he found out about Kid Cudi, though they pointed out he did not actually make contact. All this testimony suggests a relationship fraught with jealousy, fear, and control, where Cassie lived in the shadows while Diddy maintained freedoms she couldn't share. The balcony incident and final impressions. Cassie testified to a terrifying moment when Diddy allegedly held a friend over a hotel balcony railing, an image likely seared in jurors' minds. Despite defense claims this was hearsay, the vivid testimony underscored accusations of coercion and violence. Exhausted and nearly 9 months pregnant, Cassie's resilience on the stand added emotional weight as the trial moved forward. She maintained, I saw what I saw, standing firm against defense attempts to discredit her account. The incident painted a chilling picture of power and control, casting a shadow over Diddy's defense narrative. Throughout her testimony, Cassie seemed visibly drained, grappling with the emotional toll of recounting such intense experiences. The courtroom felt the weight of her presence, a woman enduring not just legal scrutiny but personal trauma. This moment, and many others in her testimony, left the jury with a haunting image they couldn't easily shake. The trial's tension intensified, as this episode highlighted the core dispute, whether coercion or consent defined the painful relationship. With the defense and prosecution sharply divided, the jury faces the daunting task of sifting truth from conflicting stories. Cassie's near-due pregnancy added a layer of complexity, reminding all present of the human behind the headlines. Judge Subramanian's insistence on wrapping her testimony by Friday suggested recognition of the strain. As the trial advances, the balcony incident remains a striking symbol of the fraught dynamics at play, keeping viewers and court observers riveted. This emotional climax, paired with contradictory evidence, guarantees the jury's decision will be anything but straightforward. Cassie Ventura's cross-examination exposed a tangled web of love, lust, fear, and control that leaves the jury with more questions than answers. Whether these steamy texts and contradictory testimonies reveal consent or coercion is a puzzle only the jury can solve, and this trial's twists are far from over. The explicit details shared in the courtroom shook everyone present, from the jurors leaning in intently, to the witnesses and attorneys grappling with the complexities of the case. This is not a simple story of good and bad, but a story filled with blurred lines and conflicting emotions, the graphic nature of the text messages painted a picture far removed from the public persona of Shawn Combmes, revealing a relationship marked by both passion and possible pressure. At the same time, Cassie's admissions of jealousy, addiction, and fear brought a human element to the trial, reminding everyone that behind these headlines are real people wrestling with messy, painful realities. The defense and prosecution continue to battle over interpretation and intent, with each side presenting narratives that seem to contradict and complicate the other. As the trial progresses, the jury will have to sift through every detail with extreme care, weighing evidence and testimony to find the truth hidden within these explosive revelations. For viewers and followers, this trial is a stark reminder of the complexity of abuse and consent, and the challenges courts face in bringing clarity to such deeply personal, disturbing cases. We'll be watching every development closely, bringing you the latest twists and turns from this gripping courtroom drama.